Dave Filoni responded to one of the biggest controversies we've seen in the animated space for quite some time. What did he say about Ahsoka in Tales of the Jedi? Tales of the Jedi is a mini-series in the Star Wars universe that uses the animated format to tell the stories of Ahsoka in varying points of her life, as well as Count Dooku in varying points of his life. But the controversy came about when it got to Ahsoka, because in 2016 we got a book that detailed all the things that Tales of the Jedi supposedly was giving us even more details about. If you want the full details on what exactly was changed, the nuances, and how that affected the canon of Star Wars, check out our other video on the channel that Dinko put together on everything you need to know about the full controversy. But in this video, we do have more details on what Dave Filoni said as the creator of Ahsoka, as the head of a lot of what we know about Ahsoka and the Clone Wars, and one of the big creative forces on Mandalorian and many other things. He kind of gave us the middle finger when it came to Ahsoka's story and what we know it as in the official canon up to this point. This is very fascinating because we haven't up until this point seen a communication around this, and I think this is good to see. So let's bring it up and see what exactly was said here. Quote, "I was doing these 3 pieces, one where she was very young, one that covers the formative years of the Clone Wars and her training, and I needed a piece that was somehow set after as a result of it. Playing with so much of her history as I have over the years, it was just natural to say, okay, well, I'll explain how she got back into this," Filoni explains. "It's based on the same outline I gave publishing for the novel. It was always the same story." This is what really changes things. We have a story, and a great story in Star Wars that really got into the nuances, that got into the nitty-gritty about Ahsoka in Star Wars. It gave us a great story and tons of detail, tons of texture in the universe. And then we see it in Tales of the Jedi, and it took all of the great texture, and it took all of the nuance, and it took all of these pieces and parts, and it kind of stripped it away. And I think part of that comes down to, it's a 15-minute animated thing. They didn't have enough time that they could, as they did in the book, to really get down into the details of it. But I think this is going to be an interesting point going forward with how fans approach the books and the TV shows, and how those things are too different. Like, you have canon. Obviously, the most ultimate canon is what's in the movies. Then you get into the live action shows, and then you get into the animated shows, and then you get into the video games, and then you get into the books and the comics. The books and the comics really flesh out the universe that we know as Star Wars, and then you have everything else that really paints in broader strokes. But the books and the comics really get down to the nitty-gritty. You can have more of those character-driven moments, and it really comes down to what level of the story do you want? And a lot of people, Dinko included, are like, hey, it really took it away from me. So what we proposed is, look at Tales of the Jedi as the quicker story, and then the book is that deeper dive into the story that I think a lot of fans really want, and it's been around for 6 years now. But they're close enough and also very different to the point where it almost feels like a completely different story or a remix of the same story. And Dinko Escathon also said this: "It has the same feeling, but not the same result that ultimately leads to a lot more that happens in the galaxy." And I think what it ultimately comes down to is, what version do you most enjoy? That's the canon version. I mean, I love Star Wars for the broad strokes. This is a masterclass in how can something as big as Star Wars be concise and consistent throughout the whole universe and the stories that they tell. And I think this is slowly saying, hey, I mean, we've had Star Wars with Disney for almost 10 years now. It's really starting to show some of the cracks in the plan that they have for the broad universe. And I think we're going to see more of this if we get a season 2 of Tales of the Jedi, or if we see more of these kinds of stories that are told in the universe. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think? Which is the ultimate version? And it's the same outline that Dave Filoni gave EK, the author, when it ultimately came down to writing it. So it's the same base, but it's like a different flavor. It's like if this person over here told this story but had a lot more time to really get into the nitty-gritty, and then this person over here, they only had like 10 minutes to tell the story. That's what we're getting here, and I don't think there's a wrong answer, but it comes down to what you enjoy most. Let me know which one is your version, which one isn't, and how you're approaching Star Wars now. Are you going to read the books and continue to read the books, or are you just going to be like, okay, yeah, the books are over here, the shows are over here, and there's two separate worlds? Definitely want to hear that in the comments below, and check out our podcast for even deeper dives into the galaxy far, far away. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one, and may the Force be with you.